morning and welcome to yet another great episode of Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television from the economic capital of Nigeria, Lagos. I am Henry Igwebike.
And I'm Choma Okohe.
All right, we'll be heading straight to our newspaper headlines for you this morning. And right after that will be our main conversation also for today. While we get everything all sorted out for you, please do well to be part of our community. Have a say in what we say. You can always find and reach us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may like, comment respectfully, that is, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV S7. With us today to do justice to our newspaper headlines is Barrister Fred Nzako, lawyer and a development economist. Good morning to you, Barrister, and welcome.
Good morning, Barrister.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you so very much. Thank you for giving us your time. We truly do appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, so let's kickstart today with a very interesting story, and it's on what's happening in Unizik.
Yes. The Academic Staff Union of Universities on Thursday welcomed President Bola Tinubu's Wednesday decision sacking the embattled Vice-Chancellor and the governing board of the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Anambra State. The union condemned Professor Bernard Odo's appointment as the Vice-Chancellor of the institution by the Governing Council in the first instance, describing him as a candidate who did not meet the prerequisites for the position. The recent controversy surrounding the Vice-Chancellor of Unizik sparked heated discussions as ASU disagreed over his nomination and appointment, stating that he was not qualified based on merit and qualification. Now, Barrister Fred Nzako, we literally say that Odo is not qualified by merit, and some ASU stated that, some ASU officials stated that he's not even a professor. Must every chancellor be a professor to actually sit on the seat and be a vice-chancellor?
Yeah, thank you. When you say professor, you introduce Odo as a professor. He's not a professor.
Really?
He is Dr. Bernard Odo, who is at best an associate professor. An associate professor in the university environment is a reader. Then you can only address somebody as a professor when he has become a substantive professor. And how do you become a substantive professor? You will be assessed by the university where you work. And such assessment will also include external assessment. But the basic and primary assessment will be by the university where you work. And then you are found meet and proper and fit to be elevated to the rank of a professor. You will now deliver your inaugural address, after which you become a substantive professor. And your question is whether you must be a professor to become the vice-chancellor of a university.
Yes.
In an environment where you have many professors who have achieved the pinnacle of academic environment and their studies and research, why would you now go for a second-rated fellow? And that is why, of course, to become a vice-chancellor, you must be a professor. 1. 2, the University Act provides that even the University Act, the NUC regulations provide that to become a vice-chancellor, you must be a substantive professor in a university. The Nnamdi Azikiwe, because each university has its own establishment act. Bernard Odo is a staff of Nnamdi Azikiwe University. Nnamdi Azikiwe University's establishment act provides that to become a vice-chancellor, you must be a substantive professor for at least 9 to 10 years. At least 9 to 10 years. So you are not just going to be a professor, but you will have been on that professorial seat for a minimum of 9 to 10 years. And the current imbroglio at the university is because they advertised that a substantive vice-chancellor would be a professor for at least 9 to 10 years and would have earned his PhD for the past 15 years. That attachment of PhD became a technical marginalization and the discrimination against those in the medical profession. And that is why the Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria wrote the NUC, wrote the Pro-Chancellor and the Council of the University, and wrote the Ministry of Education crying marginalization because their line of training does not require you to have a PhD. The equivalent of a PhD is a fellow in the medical field. Of course, you know that the training of the medical doctors is different from those of other academics because 6 years, you earn your MBBS, which is almost a double degree. That's the longest you can stay in the university, pursuing a bachelor's degree. And then you now go through professional training to become a registrar, during which you take multiple exams, and you would have spent some clinical years in both in learning and in practice for years to become a registrar. Then you now continue to study in clinicals and in academics to become a fellow. So a fellow in the medical profession is equal to a PhD. In 2019, the same Nnamdi University advertised and said PhD or its equivalent. Just like when you are talking about WAEC and GCE, you say WAEC or its equivalent. Its equivalent is GCE or even NECO, all right, at that level. So the equivalent of a PhD in other fields is equal to a fellow in medicine. So they now advertised this one and excluded those in the medical profession. That was the first error from the point of advertisement. And it was caused by the pro-chancellor of the university working in cahoot with other members of the other external members of council. I will explain to you shortly the difference between external and internal members of council. Okay. External members of council are those who were appointed from outside the university system. Right there you have the pro-chancellor, who is usually not a member of the university community, not a lecturer, not anybody, but to represent the Mr. President in governing the university. Because that is why he is not a pro-chancellor, he is the chairman of the governing council.
That's the president.
That is, no. I mean, not only a pro-chancellor, the representative of Mr. President in every university system, they say this is a pro-chancellor and chairman of governing council. That governing council is made up of that chairman and 4 others that you call external members of the council. And then there are also internal members of council that come from the university senate, the congregation, that is the rest of the university, and the Ministry of Education, representative of Ministry of Education. They now form the council. And that council is the apex lawmaking and policy-making organ of the university. Followed, well, I wouldn't say followed, because it has equal capacity by law and by practice. Just like you have Federal High Court and the State High Court having equal capacity. The council has equal capacity with the Senate, because in the Senate you have the heads of the university and all the professors of the university. And that is why for any university system to run seamlessly and smoothly and deliver good corporate governance and training of the leaders of tomorrow of the country, there must be synergy between the council and the Senate. Anytime there is rancor between council and Senate, the university becomes the grass that bears the brunt. And that is why Mr. President and the minister are very critical about what goes on in the university system between the Senate and the council. In this particular case, the problem was not even coming from the Senate, the problem was not coming from within, the problem was coming from without, because the pro-chancellor had a mindset. He was inaugurated on the 4th of July of 2024, following NUC's directive to all universities that any vice-chancellor whose tenure was to terminate should hand over to the next most senior deputy vice-chancellor. In Nnamdi University, the immediate past vice-chancellor, one Professor Charles Esimone, who now retired from service and handed over to the next in rank, another professor. That professor was carrying on. He was inaugurated on June 4, 2024. On July 4, 2024, the council was inaugurated by Mr. President, by the federal government. The chairman of council of Nnamdi University, Ambassador Greg Mbadiwe, he now brought his political filthy fingers into the ivory tower. He first removed that acting vice-chancellor, planted another fellow, one woman, one professor, Carol Uma Oje. All right? As if that was not enough, they started advertisement for the office of the substantive vice-chancellor. And that advertisement schemed out and marginalized those in medical profession. The advertisement came on 12th of September this year. And in the midst of all those mago-mago, the Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria cried and said, we are being marginalized. Because what it now means is that you are a lecturer in the university teaching doctors, would-be doctors, delivering the best in medical learning and training, and then also doing your work to heal people, because the lecturers of medicine are doing do jobs. That is why you see some becoming consultants and also professors. Consultants in the field of medicine and professor in the field of academia. You now come and scheme them out. And there are plethora of examples where other medical doctors who became professors also rose to the pinnacle of the chair of the vice-chancellor of their various universities. Even that Namdi University had two, who were, one was a medical doctor, the other one was a pharmacist. Then there are, if you go to other universities, you have many vice-chancellors that were medical doctors. So this particular one was being tailored to suit a particular candidate in the mind of the pro-chancellor. And eventually, on 29th of October, he let the cat out of the bag. And what did he do? He single-handedly, over and against the hue and cry of the council, the Senate, and the university community, and anointed and single-handedly picked one Dr. Bernard Odo to become the vice-chancellor. Then all hell was let loose. The university lost its sanity. The university lost its peace, because it was very obvious that they planted an inelegantly non-qualified, obviously unsuitable candidate for the position of the vice-chancellor. And the problem now started. Several people went to court. As I'm talking to you, there are about 4 cases in court, or 5. 4 in Oka, 1 in Abuja, against that ascendancy of Dr. Bernard Odo. And I will now ask, why is Dr. Bernard Odo said not to be a professor? You know, you introduced him as a professor, and I corrected you. As a doctor, he earned a PhD, no doubt about it. He's an associate professor and not a professor. Because, I earlier told you, the pathway to becoming a professor, and that assessment will be done by the university where you work, and not by any other person. As I am today, I can be a visiting professor to any university. Okay. You call it a visiting professor, you come and teach on a part-time basis or on a pro bono basis, and you go. You are interested in impacting knowledge, you can be invited to come and teach. But for you to become a substantive professor, that place where you work will assess you based on your academics, your integrity, and your contribution to research and learning.
All right, please speak to us just before we leave this particular matter and look at other very important items too, making rounds in several newspaper headlines. Speak to us on the independence of our academic ecosystem. How well is this good for us as compared to other parts of the world where they boast of educational tourism? Most of the money they make is actually from people who come into the country and school. And here we're having rancor over things that do not matter. But speak to us on the independence of our academic system. Don't you think this could be, messing around with the independence of that particular system? Because since the politics is becoming hijacked in the system itself.
Yes, independence can only flourish where there is justice, equity, and fairness. And when you follow due process, it will lead to accountability. When you sidetrack due process and accountability, you have stabbed independence at the back. And that will now bring untoward challenges to the environment, and will lead to issues and challenges that may not augur well for the system. The whole idea is of giving the governing council the authority to handle issues of promotion, issues of appointment, is to remove the hands of government. It's to remove the hands of government. But the government will continue to watch. How well are you now representing us? Because the Ministry of Education is the supervisory ministry. And you cannot say, oh, because I have appointed you, therefore, whatever you do at your whims, whether you get it right or wrong, because we have given you quasi independence, you can now go and frustrate the system. The ministry will come in. And of course, you know that the minister who has done very well by representing the interests of the government, by sacking this council and removing this impostor called the vice-chancellor, and removing the registrar that was even wrongly appointed, and resetting the system. If the minister did not take that action, if the president did not approve such action, you can imagine it will be a case of cat and dog in the average hour. Because even as we speak, until this action was taken by government, life in the university had become very terrible. So many people had run away from the environment because of insecurity, and then nobody was free. There was stoppage of academics. Then Medical and Dental Council even went on a warning strike. We are speaking here because, thanks be to God, we are not ill. If any of you know somebody who took ill and went to a federal government facility, he will not see a consultant to attend to him on account of this charade that happened in Nnamdi Azikiwe University. So it is a huge thing. The reverberating effect cannot be imagined. And that is why we thank Mr. President for what he has done, and also thank the Minister for Education for striking before it gets too late. Because time is of the essence.
Yes.
Meanwhile, just very quickly, Dr. Bernard Odo not only was unqualified, but fronted some fake documents. So even ICPC will soon go against him to look into the matter to see what has transpired between him and the University of Federal University that he claimed and made him a professor.
Okay, now talking about his qualification, now Dr. Odo ran for governor.
Yes.
And if you're saying now he is not qualified and he's been fronting illegal documents,
yes.
Now if we should weigh his political career and bringing it into this his career now as a vice chancellor, can we say, okay, he's not even qualified to be a governor because he ran for governor? Assuming he won, would they have still come after him?
Okay, he ran for governor and he was a candidate of APGA in 2023. That has brought out another thing that ICPC will look into, because Section 182, subsection 1G of 1999 Constitution as amended said, if you cannot run for public office of a governor without resigning your appointment in any other public, federal or state institution. So the question is, did he resign? The answer is no. Another issue for him another query for him to answer. So what people are now saying, oh, is this the kind of a man that would have come to become our governor? But I don't want to talk about his personality. For whatever he is, he should introspectively ask himself questions. What I'm talking about is the health and the life of the ivory tower, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, whose motto includes excellence, integrity, and accountability, and who was named after the great Zik of Africa, and then his memory and his the good thing he had bequeathed to humanity should not be tarnished on the altar of political expediency.
Thank you so much.
I do not know what the ranking of Unizik is amongst the world's best universities, but I do not know if the private universities have this sort of back and forth, but of course.
Truth be told, most of these professors, even the associate or visiting professors, they teach in the private universities.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they get to visit.
So when they get it right in the public,
the feedstock of many of the private universities come from the federal and state universities. Yes.
All right, very true. So let's get to Vanguard newspaper and see what's making rounds. There are terrorism, the presidency mom, DHQ thrilled over arrest of Simon Ekpa for orders.
On the top strip, you find 2025, why we are proposing 3 trillion naira budget. That is coming from Samuel. The details are on page 19.
And also we have reps reject a bill on 6 years single tenure for president and governors.
Okay, still on the tax reform. We will be on one side, or we will be on side of Nigerians. That is coming from NAS. Details are on page 22.
And also we have NAS OK's Tinubu's fresh request for $2.2 billion external loan. And as Atiku, slams Tinubu on that particular request.
Okay, let's look at the NBS survey. And it says 2/3 of households lack money for healthy food.
All right, but let's look at this particular story, and I think we'll have to have a conversation on it too. Ogoni 4 versus Ogoni 9. The blame game continues 30 years after Barrister Fred. Let's speak on this particular matter. At the time when the Ogoni people, Nigerians in its entirety, were actually remembering the gruesome murder of Ken Saro-Wiwa. At that particular point in time, the Ogoni 4, kids, children from that massacre were equally not very excited and happy about all of that. So the rancor was there for and against. I would love you to speak to us on this particular matter. Was it right enough to say, okay, let's give a thumbs up to, Ken Saro-Wiwa for what he has done, while at the other side we have people who are casualties from the actions of Ken Saro-Wiwa?
You see, this issue of Ogoni 4 and Ogoni 9 is so emotional that it must always be handled with caution. Because if there was no Ogoni 4, no, if there was no Ogoni 9, there wouldn't have been Ogoni 4. If there was no Ogoni 9, no, if there was no Ogoni 4, there was no Ogoni 4, there wouldn't have been Ogoni 9.
Definitely.
Now, on both sides, there are a lot of emotions. On both sides, there are families, friends, and loved ones who, up to today, still feel injured, still feel wounded,
betrayed,
or still feel betrayed by action or inaction of either the people on one side or the government on the other side. And anybody who is trying to rejig or revive the emotions of Ogoni 4 and the Ogoni 9 is not doing the current generation any good. I say this advisedly because of the high-wired emotion that it will raise.
But don't you think it's better they settle it so they can have a clean slate? And,
it can never be settled because lives that were lost can never be revived. It can never be settled. It can at best be laid to rest. The same way the participants have been laid to rest. It's at the best. Because how do you settle it? The 4 people that were killed and they were termed as vultures. They were nicknamed vultures. Yeah. They were set up as if they were working against the interests of the people. And then the people were now rose in unison. Of course, to kill somebody is not it's something that is not, it doesn't come easily to a sane human being. The people now rose and killed the 4. Naturally, justice must take its course. In the course of trying to give justice to those who were killed, 9 people also got down and killed. Emotions now got flayed on both sides. So how do you now resolve it? The very best thing is to lay it to rest. And how do you lay it to rest? Do not try to pontificate or solemnize one section against the other. That's all. If you try to make one section puritanically saintly against the other section, and you try to make them look like devils. Oh, they say, oh, because Abacha did not want these other people to be alive. Oh, it's because of the environmental issues. Then Shell now compare the federal government. All those things are in the realm of conjecture and emotionalism. What is important is some people were killed. The law took its course. And up to today, anybody who kills, the law will take its course because that law has not been abrogated.
So what was wrong with the law taking its course on the part of
would you say there was anything wrong? Of course, there was a judge, there was trial. It was not a jungle justice. There was trial, and then the court found them guilty, and then appellate court found them guilty, Supreme Court found them guilty. So what else? It is unlike these days that when people exhaust the legal judicial processes, governors are timid to sign execution warrants. And that's why you have a lot of condemned criminals in the prison yards. But Abacha didn't have any qualms with it. He signed the execution warrant because they felt it was a federal offense. So it lay in the hands of the federal government to sign the execution warrant. And he did so. Anybody can now come out now and say he did wrongly or he did rightly. It lies in the realm of your own personal idiosyncrasy, how you feel about it. That does not take away the fact that we still have our laws which criminalizes murder of any nature.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
President.
so very much.
We're about to call it a wrap, but before we go, just maybe in 1 minute or 1 minute 30 seconds, can you just actually share your knowledge or just share with us your thoughts about the self-appointed Prime Minister of Biafra, Simon Ekpa? And he's been caught now and he's in Finland, though there's news in the air that he's to be extradited back to Nigeria. So what is your reaction to this?
He's a Nigerian citizen. Anybody who commits offense outside Nigeria will be brought in to be tried. And that is why even when somebody gets involved in drug peddling outside Nigeria, even when there's that law that even when the person has served the sentence, he could come here and possibly, for bringing shame to the name or integrity of the country, he could serve another sentence, even though in most cases courts will see that a double jeopardy. But the law is still there. He has not been tried abroad, so he's a Nigerian citizen whose government, in the opinion of the government, has been using his position of influence to cause unnecessary, terrible problems in the land. So he will be brought in and be come and tell the courts what he knows about all those accusations. He lies in the realm of accusation. Of course, government will give him fair trial when he comes, and then we'll watch and see how it will play out.
But now, talking about in the realm of self-accusation, and it's been stated that he's been manipulated and it is used as a tool against the Igbos. That is...
Again, those are conspiracy theories. Until we go to court, then we will now know where the truth lies. Because if you sit down to read what people talk about or people write in social media, you'll be swept off your feet. And that is why the critical issues will be tried in court, where you take an oath to speak the truth.
Speaking as a lawyer.
All right, where you take an oath to speak the truth, and the truth, only truth will set you free. Only truth will set you free.
Very true. Only truth will most definitely set you free. Thank you so very much, Barrister Fred, for being part of our show today.
Thank you.
We really do appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, when we return.
Yeah, the self-appointed Prime Minister of Biafra, Simon Ekpa, to be extradited from Finland for trial in Nigeria. Just stay with us.
Please don't go anywhere.
Yeah.